I know you were at the selection show yesterday with Marquette. What was the reaction to when their name popped up? Was there a little shock to see them up on the 3 line?
Yeah, I think there was definitely a little bit of shock. They didn't. A couple regions were announced, prior to them, so everybody was kind of waiting, to see what the 4 or 5 slot was going to be. And there was, a little bit of, like a groan or, oh, hey, we're not going to be on this region. It's going to be coming up next. But yeah, the selection show was really cool. The players were there, their families, so it was a, very, closed environment. But when they popped up on the 3 seed, I think there definitely was a bit of shock. And Buzz admitted too that he was a little bit shocked, to see Marquette, jump up there as the 3 seed taking on Davidson. And I think just pretty much for him, he summed it up perfectly. The non-conference scheduling, the toughness of the conference, or the toughness outside of the conference, might have helped give Marquette that 3 seed. But I definitely was a bit shocked, especially losing to, Notre Dame in the Big East tournament, going one and done there, although they did earn the double bye. I was a bit shocked Marquette as a 3 seed, but I think they do have a good chance to, get back to the Sweet 16.
I almost feel like this is the year, Ryan. I've been campaigning for this for years, that the committee finally counted the double bye as 2 wins in a conference tournament. You shouldn't get punished for getting the bye the way that Marquette and, even Georgetown did. Essentially, they had 3 wins in their tournament, and I think that's why you still saw them on the 2 line. Same thing with Syracuse. I think the byes maybe played in when it come to that Big East tournament this year.
Definitely, and that's what Buzz said too. He's like, I saw Syracuse at 4. I thought we, maybe had a chance, to go above them, since Marquette beat Syracuse early in the year. And it happened last year, too, where Marquette got the double bye and lost their first-round game. And I kind of, thought that was, maybe like a punishment, too, because, they get the double bye, but then they lose right away. So then you kind of question, is Marquette that good of a team? But it definitely seems like the bracketeers picking the, sliding the teams everywhere. It definitely seemed that it paid off for the Golden Eagles.
Yeah, we're chatting with Ryan Ellerbusch, Marquette Hoops. He writes for them there, covering Marquette here on 95.3 WSCO. What have you been able to scrap up on Davidson over the last 24 hours or so since we found out about the matchup?
Yeah, Marquette comes into the game 3.5-point favorite over Davidson. And I was listening to you a little bit before I came on. I definitely agree. Like you said, the 3-14 seed. I think that just reading around what other ESPN writers and all of them have to say, that a lot of people are picking Davidson to upset Marquette. But Buzz said it, I thought, perfectly in his media availability yesterday. Davidson's pretty much Notre Dame, except that they don't wear green, and Davidson's pretty much Wisconsin in that they don't wear red and white. They have a lot of similarities. So I think it's going to be a really close game. Marquette has a lot of trouble winning away from the Bradley Center. They were undefeated there at home, which really helped them put them into the rankings and get them really high this year. So I think it's definitely going to be an interesting game. Marquette traveling out to Lexington, Kentucky. They'll play there on Thursday against Davidson. Davidson shoots free throws really well. They're one of the highest-ranked teams in the nation there. But Marquette, is going to be matched up pretty well with them, and they're really going to have to bring their A game if they're going to win this first-round matchup.
Ryan, give me a player or two on Marquette that are going to be key to a tournament run.
I think Devontae Gardner and Vanderblue. I mean, I've been pretty much saying it all along. As far as those guys will take the Golden Eagles, as far as they'll go. Davidson doesn't have a lot of height, so I think Devontae Gardner is going to be able to play a key role in, getting the ball down low in the paint and scoring, drawing fouls, getting them into foul trouble. And just for a scoring factor, Vanderblue has been that key all season long for Marquette, scoring the basketball and shooting it, which a lot of people really haven't expected for him. And I think Jameel Wilson too. He's really started to come on. A guy with his size at 6'9" who can shoot the ball, play a little bit down low. I think he's going to be a big key too, as well as obviously point guard Junior Cadogan. Some of the past games he's been committing a lot of turnovers, and the games that Marquette has lost this year, they've committed numerous turnovers, and it all starts at the guard. So it's definitely going to be a collective effort for Marquette to win any game in the NCAA tournament. It always is. So they'll have to bring their A game against Davidson.
Ryan, when you look at the draw as well, potential matchups down the road, obviously Butler, Bucknell, That'll be an intriguing game. It was kind of interesting to see the spreads, actually. I think Butler's favored by a few, 3.5, I think the same as Marquette, and that has actually come down a little bit with people going towards Bucknell. But you get by there, possible matchup against an Indiana, and then I think down the road in the Elite Eight, how about a Tom Crean in Indiana versus a Buzz Williams Marquette Elite Eight if the Golden Eagles are fortunate enough to make it that far?
Yeah, and that was the talk of the NCAA selection show, just getting there and talking with all the other writers and media there. That was the talk. Everybody wants to see the Marquette-Indiana matchup. That would be great. So, I mean, if Marquette can get by Davidson, then they would have to play Butler, which is a rematch of the Maui Invitational game earlier in the season that Butler won on a last-second three-pointer. But
they stole on a last-second three-pointer, Ryan. Let's be honest. We can be homers here right now. They stole that game on a three-pointer.
Oh, yeah, and Bud said yesterday, so much has changed since then, so I'm sure that the footage that they've taken from that game they probably won't use too much. But, yeah, if Marquette can get by Butler, get to the Sweet 16, they won't play Indiana quite yet. They still got to get by Miami, who's the 2 seed, which a lot of the writers are picking Miami to go pretty far. So if Marquette can beat them, though, then likely they'll have a matchup against Indiana, and that would be just great. I mean, Tom Crean would have, everything to lose. And, if Marquette could pull that one out, I think that'd make a lot of Marquette faithful happy because a lot of people are still bitter about the way Tom Crean left.
Ryan, how far do you have Marquette going, and did you do a bracket yet? You got a Final Four yet?
I haven't done a bracket yet. I'm thinking Louisville's going to win it all. I've been really impressed with them throughout their Big East run this year. But I think, compared to past years, I really just don't think there's that favorite in the NCAA tournament, to win it all. I think it's going to be really competitive. I think any team could come away with it if they get hot on the right time. I mean, look at Davidson right now. They have the longest winning streak currently in the nation. So, Marquette's going to really have to come out on Thursday and, play a good game and get that win. But I think Marquette will beat Butler, advance to the Sweet 16, and then I think they'll fall to Miami, Florida. They've just been really on a hot streak lately. So that's what I'll have to go with there.
How about the
East region?
Yeah, how about the Big East as a whole? I mean, what do you look for from them? And a lot has been made this week if that was the final Big East tournament, obviously. Now, the Big East name is going to live on. It's not necessarily going to be the same conference, but I think a lot of pride with that conference. We're really seeing that this week. And 8 of the 14 teams getting in, that's a pretty good batting average for the Big East.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of years ago it was 11 Big East teams, but still to get 8 Big East teams in there is definitely really good for the conference. I mean, they had 3 teams who shared winning the conference title this year, and Marquette, Louisville, and Georgetown. So the Big East is definitely a strong conference. They're going to lose some teams next year, but they're definitely going to gain some more too, and it should be a pretty competitive conference. And the Big Ten this year too, I mean, really, I think shocked a lot of teams with as many teams as they got into the conference. Into the tournament.
Yeah, and looking ahead for Marquette, too, I know you got to follow Dwayne Wilson this year as well with Midwest Ballers. I tell you what, between Wilson and Koenig, I think you're looking at Wisconsin and Marquette starting point guards next year played at the Kohl Center in the state tournament.
I think so, too. I think both have a chance to get a lot of starting minutes. Everybody always asks me, because I watch these guys play so much, would you rather take Bronson or would you rather take Dwayne? Dwayne definitely brings the scoring. And he can really take over a game. I think he has great leadership out there on the court. I think he's going to do big things for Marquette in the coming seasons. But I also like Bronson a lot. I just really enjoy watching him play. His passing's phenomenal. He has eyes literally in the back of his head. He can find anybody out on the court anywhere. And for Aquinas and Dominican to win the state championship last year, I thought was awesome. Or last week was awesome. And those two are definitely going to be freshmen to watch next year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, tell us a little bit about Midwest Ballers. I know you're right for them as well as Marquette Hoops.
Yeah, Midwest Ballers. We just kind of got started about 2 years ago, just kind of traveling all over the state. And in the summer, we go with AAU, teams and cover their bunch of tournaments. But it kind of helps, really JP Tokido started a couple years. We just went to a couple, Menominee Falls games and, started to film them. And he really stood out, with his dunks, and now all of a sudden, we're going to all these high school games in Wisconsin, making highlight videos. It's really a great thing, and it's actually helped, some of the kids, get some scholarship offers and help them get recruited because, college coaches always want to see, film on these kids, but, sometimes, with their busy, hectic schedules, they might not be able to make it out to a game. But, Yeah, it's definitely very exciting. It's like the sports center of, Wisconsin high school basketball. We have all the highlights for you, pretty much every team, every top player in the state. And, with this summer AAU, it's going to be, even more exciting to see some of these kids play.
I know you guys were responsible, too, about the internet sensation that became Kenneth Lowe's 360 dunk.
Yeah, Kenneth Lowe, man. I had the chance to meet him this July at they played in a Mr. Basketball showcase in Dakota, and I ended up going down there with one of the AAU teams, and they told me, keep an eye on this Kenneth Lowe kid. He goes to Little Shoot. Never really heard anything about him because I just kind of got into following the high school scene. It's amazing what I've learned over the course of 1 year, but Kenneth, he had about like 5 dunks in that tournament. He shot the ball. He did everything well, and then I followed his career throughout Little Shoot this year, and got to give a special thanks to Derek Dolevole out there in Little Shoot for filming most of the Little Shoot games this year. But he's been phenomenal, Kenneth. He's had a couple tip dunks, the 360. He's posterized a couple of kids. He's going to be a big asset and a huge get for the UW Green Bay men's basketball program. Tons of upside.
Ryan Ellerbusch, Midwest Ballers. You can read his work there as well. Marquette Hoops of the Scout Network, covering Marquette basketball, taking the time to talk some Marquette with us today. Ryan, keep up the good work. Enjoy the tournament. We'll do this again soon, all right?
Thanks a lot, Justin. Thanks for having me.